those of you online as well, thanks for joining us yet again. Hope you've been having pretty incredible days, soaking it all in, trying to ask as many questions as possible and taking as much out of it as you possibly can. This next session is going to be incredible. We have some pretty amazing alumni here to have a great chat to us about their time at NIDA and beyond and opportunities that opened up for them and those sorts of things. And is going to be led by the wonderful Jamie Campbell. So we'll welcome them out now. I hope you have a wonderful session and yeah, get a lot out of it.
Thank you, everyone. Good to see you. Thanks for being here. Firstly, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we gather, learn, create, and tell stories today, and pay my respects to their elders, past and present, and also extend that respect to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people here today. Great to see you all, and amazing to have this sensational group of people here from former NIDA students and graduates of NIDA, Callan Colley, Chika Ikogwe, and Susie Porter. Good to see you. So much to talk about, and firstly, how is it to be back in the building?
Weird. It's weird, but it's, familiar. And I graduated in 2018, so it hasn't been too long, but it still is like, oh, that's new, yeah.
Yeah.
I think for me, it was a long time ago. I graduated in 95. Probably some of you weren't even born then. So yes, a lot of you probably weren't even born then. So I sort of feel like there's been many years that I've come back, but it was weird in my first couple of years when I graduated to come back here. But I love coming back here now, actually. It's like home.
It's great. What about you, Callan?
Yeah, I avoided coming in here for like 2 years after. But it's then like once that wore off, and it's such a beautiful place that I now come and teach here with the third years at the start of every year. So it's nice to be home.
So each of you study the Bachelor of Fine Arts Acting, and it's an intense 3 years, isn't it? It's a lot. How was that experience while it was happening? Chika?
Why me?
To start.
While it was happening, I remember it being very intense. The days were quite long, like we were here 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday to Friday minimum. And then, sometimes after class we'd be doing like rehearsals for something or practicing with your group for like Embody and all these different little projects. So it was really long but very fulfilling, and I met some of my greatest and most cherished friends and collaborators while I was here. And so we laughed together and cried together and did everything together in those 3 years and those many, many hours.
I want to talk about the relationships that you build coming here in a little bit. Susie, can you take us back to your audition for NIDA?
Yes, so when I auditioned, I actually sent away to all the schools, and that was at the time where you actually put like $20 in an envelope. So I'm definitely showing my age of not sort of like put my $20 in the envelope, filled the things out, and I sent it I wanted to audition for WAPA, which is the Western Australian Academy of Performing Arts, VCA, the Victorian Academy of Performing Arts, which I don't think is any, it's not happening anymore, and NIDA. And I suppose my main one was that I really wanted to get into NIDA, and I did my first audition, and it's a full day, so it's quite intense. You're with a group of people, and you kind of bond with them as well. And you get to the end of the day, and then I was lucky enough to get the phone call that says, right, you're coming back in a month's time, and here are some new monologues to learn. So I went and did that, and on the second day audition, at the end of that day, I got really bad food poisoning. I had some fish and chips up at Bondi Junction that was not good. And I didn't eat them all, but I was really, really sick. And I was actually in hospital for a week on a pethidine drip. And so basically I couldn't I didn't audition for Whopper or VCA because of that food poisoning. So I kind of took it like it was the universe's little thing to say, well, NIDA it is. And then I got the phone call a couple of weeks later saying you got into NIDA. So that was my story, yeah.
And Cal, how was your audition process?
With my audition process, I went a bit rogue. So I actually auditioned with a 9-minute beat poem that I told them was by a playwright, which was actually a comedian. And the purpose behind that was I really wanted to take claim of my audition, and it was I'd run the piece until they told me to stop. And as I went through the rounds, every time there was one teacher in there who was like, I told you to cut that. You should have cut, why? You choose a different piece. And it was like a real thing for me to go, if I'm here, I want to do what is fun, what's exciting. So I continued with this 9-minute beat poem until they told me to stop every single time. And then sort of ended up here on the other side of the country. I was hoping to get into Whopper, and NIDA was just to quell my nerves. So I was like, I'm going to use this as like a testing ground for my Whopper audition, and then really fell in love with the people, the students who were working in the room with us, and the rest is kind of history.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you grew up in Perth?
Grew up in Perth. I'd
Yeah.
never been to Sydney before, and then when I got the call to come over, I packed a surfboard, 2 suitcases, and paid some other student $50 through a bank transfer who I'd never met to find me an apartment. And then it was in like a dodgy kind of area south. And it was a bit of a fun ride.
And when was it that you realised that you wanted to be an actor?
I was year 10 in high school, and the honest truth was I wasn't really good with girls. And there was 3 girls in my drama class, and I thought, these are really good odds, and so I'm going to give this thing a go. So that's why I got into acting, and that's actually the truth. And then I was like, oh, this is actually really fun. Like, I can play around and make this up, and I feel really confident, and felt actually just really relaxed and really, like I could just settle into exactly who I was, what I was wanting to do, and bring all these different characters to life. And so from there, I then tried for Whopper, didn't get in, went and did geology and finance, got halfway through that, and then dropped out to come here.
What about you, Chika? When did you first decide the performing life was for you?
I think I came out of the womb kind of like performing, but I'm Nigerian, so you don't tell your Nigerian parents, hey, I'm gonna be a performer. You pick one of the 4 career paths that they have set out for you, which is like medicine or law or nursing or engineering. And if you like really want to, maybe teaching. So I was going to study medicine for a really long time, but I can't look at blood, so that's a very obvious problem. And medicine was just not going to be that career path for me. So the week before I graduated year 12, I told my parents that I was not going to med school and I was going to study acting, and that went really well, yeah.
How are they now with this gig?
They're pretty good. Pretty good. I think they're just like, as long as you're okay and you're happy, they're pretty on board. But at the start, they were like, what? You're going to go on stage and pretend to be someone you're not? For, sometimes doing like independent theatre where you're getting paid not a lot of money and it's profit share, and sometimes you don't make any money. They're like, what? We moved all the way to Australia so you could do that, you idiot. Like, so, yeah, but they're good now.
And now you're on like the biggest TV show in Australia, Heartbreak High. I think they should be proud, right? Yep.
They're okay.
Yeah. Susie, young girl in Newey, up in Newcastle, when was your first acting thought?
Look, I always kind of I was always probably a performer at home, not really at school. My school wasn't at all like set up for people performing. It was more of a sports and academic. So I suppose I excelled more in sports when I was younger. But I did a play called The Boyfriend when I was at school, and I really loved it. And I had a great time in the chorus, and you bond with your classmates, and then I decided that. So I then went to university in Newcastle, and I did a Bachelor of Arts, majoring in drama. I always knew I wanted to be an actor, but I hadn't really done a lot of acting, so I didn't know whether I could do it or not. So going to university meant that, like, I did lots of plays. I think I did about 20 plays in 4 years. And doing all those plays, I kind of taught myself and watched everyone else do it, because you don't know whether you can act or not, really, because I didn't start when I was really little. And then I had the confidence, after I did the Bachelor of Arts, I then had the confidence to come and audition for NIDA, and then got in then. But it was a kind of slow burn for me.
We've been friends a long time, and you've often talked to me about how much NIDA impacted your career. And coming back and meeting people, and when you spoke at the graduation ceremony a couple of years ago, I was so touched about how passionate you were about what this building continually gives you as an actor. Yeah,
definitely. It's look, I would say I owe my career to NIDA. And that may sound a bit sort of obvious sitting here today, but it's actually true, because not only just what I learned as an actor, but in my third year we had a casting agent come in called Liz Mulliner, and it's just called Mulliner's casting agent now. She's sort of gone off and done something different. But long story short is that I started to audition for movies when I was in my third year. And so I did 2 small roles in movies while I was in my third year. And I was only allowed to do it because it fell in the holidays. But basically being here, learning what I did, and meeting Liz Mulliner basically got me into the film industry. I did a film called Mr. Reliable, and then I did another film called Idiot Box. And then through that, she got me an agent. And so basically I think that if I wasn't here at NIDA, I just don't know whether, and that really started then a role to be doing Australian film and television from there. So it was basically the people that you meet here, not only just what you learn, but the fact of getting agents, the fact of meeting people in the industry, that just allowed me to then work within it. So I really do feel like I owe my career to this place. And not only that, just talking about the friendships as well, like the people that I'm still friends with today, among other things, which we'll get onto. But
and Chiki, you mentioned that about those collaborations and those friendships. I think one of the most special things about NIDA is that collaboration between all of the disciplines, all of the students working together to put on productions and to constantly just meet and create and collaborate together. That's something that you've taken on with you?
Yeah, definitely. It's such an incredible place in the sense that you obviously come for your discipline, but there are also directors, there are also writers, there are people doing stage management, people doing costume design. So I similarly didn't grow up actually doing performing. It's something I came to a bit later when I was 18, 19. So being here was just kind of I haven't been to Disneyland, but what I imagine Disneyland is where you're just oh my gosh, and everyone is also so passionate about their disciplines, and that is really inspiring, and just so great to meet people who are as passionate as you are about your discipline, about theirs, and also really good at what they do as well. So, yeah.
Have you had that experience too, Cullen?
Yeah, I knew that when I was coming to NIDA, it was going to be about being around people who knew more than me, being around people who were, had equal amounts of passion or more. And when I graduated, with 5 of the guys in my year, we actually formed a theatre company, put on our own show 2 months out, And it was messy and chaotic, but we did the thing. And there's some like really solid friends, all who work now in like different areas and things. But I recognize that this building, yes, it teaches you about craft and things like that, but it actually gives you access to some of the biggest theatre companies, casting directors, not only here in Australia, but around the world. So from my showcase, 2 of the main stage theatre companies saw me in that and then snatched me up based on what they saw. And so for that reason, I was like, I'm so glad that I came here, you know, and did the 3 years to be able to get access to those people who, you know, wouldn't have been around before had I done something else, you know.
Definitely the connections are so important, which you're talking about. Just onto the training a little bit. All of you have experience across stage and screen, and also want to talk to you particularly, Chika, about your writing and producing and so on. But the training here really sets you up for all kind of performance. Susie, you've done so much film work, the credit list, like royalty right here in the industry, incredible. The credit list is crazy, from everything from Ladies in Black to East West 101 to Wentworth to Two Hands, Gold. How has that training shaped what you do today and since you left here?
I was just talking with the guys beforehand. I think I was very, very confident with the stagecraft itself, and then I was thrown into, you know, doing film and television. At first, it just took me a while, but I think it's just the discipline to work really hard. Like, I would never go into a job now. And some people say, well, that's obvious, but it's actually not. There are some actors who would turn up and don't learn their lines and whatever, but I would never turn up to a job unless I have given 100% to my preparation. And I know the lines, I know exactly, I've done all the research, I've done all the study. Like, NIDA really taught me that. And when I fell short here at NIDA, the teachers would say that's because you haven't worked hard enough. And I actually think that it was true. You know, so the study, the discipline, wanting to be the best that you can, I think was a really big thing that was instilled. Not being late, to, as I was talking with these guys beforehand, like being like on set and not, like they always say, oh, Suze, you don't have to hang your costumes up, but I would always hang my costumes up purely because NIDA always taught us, like, you don't leave the room's a mess, your dressing room, you hang all the costumes, you respect the space. So I think things like that have really taught me to just, and obviously when you get, you know, on doing film and television, it is a slightly different discipline. But I also think you learn that when you're actually on set and you've got a lot of other people helping you, a lot of other people stumbling around, and over the years that you get your screen craft happening.
Cal, you've had a huge amount of work since you left here and on stage, and also quite a bit on screen and a couple of screen things recently. How is that 3 years and that training kind of equip you when you go into a new rehearsal room or you get a job and you show up and you've got a new director and a whole new crew of people to work with?
Yeah, for me, it's you have to have the rigor that when you come into any new rehearsal room, nothing is too big. Any offer, it's always easier for them to pull you back than it is to push you. So being here, whenever I step into a rehearsal room, instead of being really meek or apologetic, it's like, here's my offer, here's what I've got. And this building really facilitated that for me to go, make a choice, do something, put it out there. It doesn't matter if it's really shit or you know, if it's really bad, you know, but it's like, trust your instincts. And it really then allowed me to take up space in a bunch of different rehearsal rooms with people who I had watched and gone, oh my God, you're amazing. And then suddenly I'm there in the rehearsal room and they're like, did that work? And I'm like, yeah, I don't know, I think so. You know, so it was, I guess, jumping between all the different rehearsal rooms, and it comes also with practice. You know, the more rooms and spaces you're in, I've been pretty specific with trying to get into plays with people who know more than me, who have been doing it a lot longer and who are better with me, because I think when you surround yourself with people who are at a higher caliber, you have to step up. If you're the best in the room, you're in the wrong room. You know, it's not about your ego, it's about your craft, it's about what you bring, it's about what you're giving to that character. And so then being on, you know, it's only been recently that I've started to switch into screen, because I wanted a whole bunch of things from theatre, which I only just ticked off at the end of last year. And then with my agents, they've gone like, okay, so screen, what's happening? And now we're jumping into that, but I thought it would be a lot more different, but taking that, you know, the discipline and the craft to go throw big ideas out. Everyone's there to play, everyone's there to make this thing work. And so, yeah, I guess just taking those kind of things over with me.
Chico, with you, what about the diversity of skills and the agility that NIDA provides? How has that helped you over the last 5 years?
How has that helped me over the last 5 years? I think probably through the networks that I've created from acting, meeting people and being part of stories that I both like and stories that I find challenging and things that I don't like. And seeing where my voice could fit in the Australian canon and going, okay, now that I've done these things, what do I have to offer in a writing capacity and how can we make that happen? And that just means you just kind of have to do it, because if something's not getting done, like, you kind of have to do it yourself. So yeah, I think that's how I got into the writing and producing. I'm just really keen to see more Afrocentric stories in Australia and more black stories in Australia. So just doing that.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
You have a project in development that you're working on. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that and how that happened?
Which one?
I know. Well, I was thinking about Just Chitty Things that you're producing with Rose Byrne, but I know that you have a lot going. She's a powerhouse. This one does not stop. We were just talking backstage about Heartbreak High start shooting that on Wednesday, and she has like 10 million things to do in the next 4 days before that happens. But how is that producing journey going for you?
Yeah, it's going well. I think when the announcement came out, I was just really excited to see lots of other people excited to see that story come to life and to fruition, because oftentimes I think Australia can be quite risk adverse, and it's great to show that people are hungry to see themselves represented and to see equity and to see representation. So it's going well, and I just hope we can see it actually happen soon. But I wanted to say something off of what Susie said earlier about like things like hanging up your costumes. Those kinds of things people don't realise. But meeting and working with people at NIDA, when you work with the costume people and you form really good relationships with, these people in the future, they're students now, but will eventually become your colleagues. You have respect for them, and you want to, if you're observing their work and what they're doing, you want to try and make their job easier too. So I think that kind of thing I learnt while being here is like, you wouldn't want someone to come into your field and muck around, so don't go and do that in someone else's. Yeah,
that's incredible discipline. And I think, having worked on a huge amount of TV shows and sets and so on myself, I think that discipline that NIDA provides is really noticeable when you go to a set. You can pick a NIDA grad. You can really tell the discipline and the learning and so on.
Yeah, I was just going to say that any NIDA actor that I've encountered, be it theatre or screen, there's always such a respect for the work, first and foremost. They show up. Yeah, they show up. They know their lines. They know how to interact with people, and they just know how to bring a professional standard that it's just all about producing really great work.
So I'm really interested to hear that acting does have its ups and downs. You can get a bunch of jobs for a bunch of time and then no jobs. You can go for days or weeks without auditions. There's a lot of challenges being an actor. Susie, to start off with you, why?
Why that happens?
Yeah, or no, why acting?
Why acting? Look, I suppose when you're in the quiet moments, you do tend to go, oh, and there are so many ups and downs. But for me, I don't regret being an actor at all. And I love, because I just means that every job is different that I do. But there are times like when I got out my first year of NIDA, I did like 2 really big films that were big budget, and then we went to the Cannes Film Festival and had the big midnight screening, and it was a real disaster, this film. Yet I was thinking, because everyone was saying, oh, this is it for you, this is it, and it was a massive failure. And I came back and I literally could not get a job, and I then became a waitress. And that was off like a year that was incredible. And then I've had many times in my career where I haven't worked. I've auditioned and haven't got them. I went and worked in London, I did everything but act probably. Swept floors, made jewellery, ironed shirts, sold aftershaves at Heathrow, and I did lots of stuff, but all through it just makes you more appreciative when you're employed. I am just very grateful. And I think that's, because when you're first out, you think, I'm never going to be unemployed. I'm going to be the 2% that are going to be work. And it was pretty good for a while. And then you get to those really big chunks and you have to dig deep. And you also have to realise that happens to every actor. I mean, maybe not a few of this sort of A-list, maybe Hollywood, that sort of go from one to the other. But every friend of mine from NIDA, and also friend within the industry, and I'm sure these guys can testify to that too, is that, everyone has their time where they don't work. And just to always remember that and hang on in there. Because you sometimes think when you're not working, it's never going to end. You think, I've had my bit, this is it, I'm good, what else am I going to do? I'm not skilled at anything else. But you always hang in there, and also know that, the two of us were at the White Lotus Jennifer Coolidge thing for Vivid last weekend, and she shared about that she suffered depression and she didn't leave the house for a number of years. And when you hear people like that it's up and down for everyone, and to always know that, a favourite saying of mine is, this too shall pass. And it does. And I have a chunk of time out of work, and then it's like back to back. Then another chunk of time, and you always have those insecurities, but you just tell yourself that, what is for me won't pass me by.
Chica, what drives you in the times where you struggle with work, or not as many auditions as you'd like, or so on?
I think the last thing that Susie said, what is for me won't pass me by. I truly believe that, whatever is destined for me eventually will find me, and that kind of keeps me powering. And I think also because I am creating work, I am busy in the times that I'm not acting, trying to create stuff that hopefully both myself and other people can act in the future. So, but I think that belief, you just really have to have an absurd amount of self-belief, maybe even a little bit delusion, but you really just have to believe in yourself more than anyone else that it will eventually happen, even when times are really tough, because they do get tough and it does get slow sometimes, and it feels like Susie said, it's just never going to end, and that's just going to be where you are forever. But just believe that it will get better.
What about you, Cullen?
I think it's a tough one, because there's many stories of where it doesn't work out, and then there's the stories where it does. And you have so many people, especially when I graduated, and people tell you a million things. It's going to work for this person, it's not going to work for this person. You're going to be, you're going to get this, and it's, no one knows. No one really knows. And I've seen people who, you know, in years around me and things where, you know, they were told that like they were sort of put to the wayside, but, you know, they're consistently working around the world. And for me, I guess I've always been quite realistic with what I'm doing here, like in this moment. And I've always said that if it's not meeting my values, then I'm out. Like I love this, and right now this is like, I'm so passionate. But if tomorrow I wake up and it's not the thing, that's cool. I had a great time doing it. But while I am doing it, I'm at my, no, I can't swear. I'm at my best, you know, like I am giving it my all. And it's not about being, you know, better than anybody else to go, I'm great and no one else is. It's just, no, I'm great. And I'm going to, you know, give everyone else a run for their money who's going to be auditioning for those roles or whatever it is. So, you know, what the guys are saying here, like about that self-belief, it's so, so true. And so in moments where it's been really quiet, I guess initially I tried to run from that. And then I started to just sit with it and go, what else excites me? What makes me me? What do I, you know, hits my values? And from that, I've started 3 businesses, 2 which failed, you know, and I'm like, what am I doing with my life? But still amongst it all, I've had a lot of fun doing it. And so I think in the ups and the downs, wherever you're at, is it making you feel alive? Do you feel like this is what you're meant to be doing? And if you are, then fucking follow that. Be in it. Like that's what it's about, you know? So yeah, that's how I handle the ups and downs.
Thank you. So for a room full of people that might want to fill out an application soon and go through the audition process and so on, from each of you, why should you apply to NIDA? Susie?
I would say for you guys to fill out the form and apply for NIDA because it can change your life. It can completely change the course of your life, as it did for me. Not only that, meet the most incredible people and also just to be challenged as well, to kind of grow up. Like I had to grow up pretty quick in the 3 years as well. But yeah, I just think it's an incredible, like, I'm just so glad that I filled in that form and that I didn't get food poisoning for Whopper, you know, for any of the other stuff. I'm just so glad that I came here. Yeah, very proud.
No more $20 in the envelope though.
No more $20 in the envelope.
Chika, what's your thoughts? What's your advice on someone who might want to leave here today and apply?
Yeah, I think I echo once again everything Susie said, and I think it's such an incredible opportunity to just have 3 years to come to a place and just fail every day until you find the thing that works for you. Because the industry is kind sometimes, and you can still fail when you leave. You can still try stuff out and it might not work, but drama school really is the place where you can come and do that day after day after day until you go, oh, actually that thing worked really great for me, I'm going to keep that. And then you go the next day and that thing sucks and that thing sucks. And so yeah, to get to do that for 1,000 days, I don't know how many days in 3 years, but anyway, but to get to do that for 3 years, it's pretty cool and like so rare. When does anyone get to do that in any field? So I think that's why you should apply. Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of the places where there's such a small cohort, and so the time and attention that you get is pretty pivotal. And so, you know, the people in here will push you and they will push you and push you and push you, and it's out of love because they want you to do well. And in terms of like why you should apply, I think apply if you feel like you want to. Don't apply because you've got someone saying it's this kind of institution, or you should do this, or you're whatever. If you really feel it, and you know that deep feeling, if you're like, this is for me, this is where I need to belong, put in the application, because you don't know what's going to come off it. And I was so surprised that I put in the application here not expecting to go here, and when I did, it completely changed the trajectory of my life. And so I think if you're on the fence about it, take some time, go to the beach, go for a walk, shut out the other people who are, you know, telling you what to do, and just listen to going, is this what I want to do or is it not? But if it is something you want to do, it's a hell of a place because you are pushed and you were broken and you were coming at like ridiculous times and you're walking around in a rehearsal room at 10 p.m. at night, being a monkey, doing Shakespeare and going, what am I doing? I'm starving. But, like this place will push you in ways that I think it's hard to get anywhere else because it's you with you going, what is my limit? Where is my edge? And these teachers and who are in here are so passionate about pushing that within us. So yeah, I think apply if you want to be pushed, if you want to be challenged, if you want to learn more about yourself, then 3 years is a pretty special time to do that.
Thank you, that's great. We've got to finish soon now, but I just want to hear about what you guys are up to. So Chica, we talked about Heartbreak High shooting this week, season 2. I know you can't tell us anything.
No.
But please tell us a couple of amazing things about working on Heartbreak High.
A couple of amazing things. I think the people on the show are incredible. They are so talented. And everyone is incredibly kind and incredibly generous, both off screen and on. And even like the crew and like everyone. It's such an amazing environment. So that's a really big tick for me.
We'll see you in the school this week.
Oh yeah.
Which is great. Susie, what's next for you? You're off to shoot a film, you told me.
Yes, I'm off to Austria to do a low budget film. Yeah, which is about a cult, and it's 3 months out, but I have to do an American accent, and I haven't actually done one of those for film or television, so I'm like at the moment studying for that.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, don't make me do it. Oh, look, God, the R's.
Burger.
Yeah, funny farm. I went to the funny farm. Yeah, I got a long way to work on that. But yeah, like I suppose the discipline with that, like I will work until that I pass as an American.
Yeah, great.
Put it that way.
Callan, you just shot.
Yeah, so I
Ironic
was
Stories?
just doing a show with Paramount and another one with SBS, so it's been a bit of a wild couple of months just jumping between sets. But weirdly enough, I'm really getting into this like rom-com genre. So like shooting for like Hallmark and stuff, which I didn't expect that I would enjoy, but it's actually really fun. It moves really fast, everyone's having a fun time, and the stories are like so ridiculous and predictable, but you can just like have a laugh with it. So yeah, I'm sort of pushing more into that world on a few projects, which is fun and exciting. And I have a play with STC coming up later this year, so I've started working on that script, and it's also a bit of time to work on my business right now. So it's a bit of juggling some different projects at the moment.
Awesome. Well, thank you all so much for being here today. It's so great to hear about what you're up to, and thank you for supporting NIDA, and for everyone at home watching as well. Thank you very much, and everyone here, great to see you here today at NIDA. Thank you.